Today, we reflect on the mini-games that couldn't quite make it. Today, we reflect on the mini-games that Mario Party Superstars decided to cut the heads off, and we are officially burying 6 feet under. So today, we are going to be reflecting on the mini-games that didn't quite make it to Mario Party Superstars. And of course, this is my personal list of mini-games that I am sad did not make it into Mario Party Superstars. Now, of course, they could be added in via future DLC, and honestly, these are the mini-games I would want them to add via future DLC. But here we are at Mario Party Graveyard, and we're going to visit the graves of all the mini-games that didn't quite make it. I won't say too many words about these mini-games, but we will at least reflect on all of them. And of course, these mini-games are my personal choices. So let me know down in the comments down below what mini-games that didn't make it in that you are personally saddened by the axing of for Mario Party Superstars. So without any further ado, let's go visit those graves. In the Mario Party 1 section, we start off with Buried Treasure. This is a fun little mini game where you can dig out buried treasure, and I am kind of saddened by its non-returning. It's a cute little mini game, and I wish I could have played it on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Hot Bob-omb. Now, obviously, this is a fun game of passing the Bob-omb around and who it explodes on loses, and it's a cute little mini game that from the first game that I'm saddened to not see return. Lastly, for Mario Party 1 is the mini game that started all the platforming mini games that have been pretty much a staple for the Mario Party series throughout its whole entire run. It is sad to see this one not return, and it is very unfortunate. Now we visit the gravesite of Mario Party 2's minigame, and there aren't too many here either, but let's go into them. Firstly, we have Lava Tile Isle. This is always a fun kind of beat-em-up minigame where you have to punch your opponents off the platforms, and it is very sad to not see this one return. Shock, Drop, and Roll. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised this one didn't make it, given its popularity, but it's always a very fun 1v3 where the one player would have to psych out the other 3, and it was just a very fun minigame, and it's unfortunate that it met its demise not making it into Mario Party Superstars. Looney Lumberjacks was another fatality for Superstars, and I kind of look at in a relatively sad light. It was a fun minigame, and I wish it could have made its way in. Mario Party 3's section is also pretty short, but we'll get into that. Let's get going. Locked Out was a kind of cool mini game where you had to get the key that corresponded to the door, and it was just a kind of fun mini game that I'm, again, saddened isn't making its return. They could have evolved upon the formula a little bit more, or maybe modernized it a little bit and made it really, really good, but I am still really, really saddened by this mini game's non-return. Treadmill Grill is a natural survival minigame as you're running across these treadmills with the fire Podobo things coming at you, and again, another casualty that I'm kind of sad of. I've always loved the survival minigames in Mario Party, and it's sad to see this one not make the cut. Lastly, for Mario Party 3 is MPIQ. Now, I feel like this one could have been absolutely amazing to bring back, given that it's a Superstars game, a best of the series game. They could have totally evolved this minigame to encompass the whole entire series, but they didn't take that opportunity, and I am very sad to see it go. Now we are visiting the gravesite of Mario Party 4, where there are quite a few more casualties that I am very sad they didn't include in this game. Firstly is Cliffhangers. This one was always a fun 2v2. I am one of those people that actually am not a huge fan of the 2v2s, but this one was one that I really, really liked, and I am very sad that they didn't decide to bring it back. So yeah, Cliffhangers is unfortunately a casualty that I am very sad about. Hide and Go Boom was always a fun minigame to me. Like, yes, of course, the one person didn't know where the other 3 are, and it kind of makes a comeback in that one Mario Party 3 minigame that I can't remember the name of, where, you know, there's like the stage and everyone hid behind a different structure. But nevertheless, this was always a really fun minigame, and it is sad to see it not make it. Mr. Blizzard's Brigade was always such a fun time, a very frantic mess of just trying to avoid the snowballs. And another, like I said, another survival game that is just absolutely amazing. So sad to see this one not make the cut and just be completely axed off. And yeah, Mr. Blizzard's Brigade, we will miss you. Fruits of Doom is probably my favorite Bowser minigame from Mario Party 4, and as much as I love they included the Bowser minigames from Mario Party 6, and those are the main ones they included, it is sad to not see Fruits of Doom return. It's such a simple premise of just trying to remember all of the fruits that were listed, you know, even though you're not able to look at the list for long, but it is still a great minigame, and unfortunate that they cut it. Next up is Chain Chomp Fever, another survival one that I personally really liked. Such a shame that they aren't bringing this one back, but maybe DLC will revive this one because it had such a cool theme with the lava around it and the Chain Chomp casually breaking the wall. It was amazing. Unfortunate this one's not returning. And yeah, so that's it for Mario Party 4. Let's head on to Mario Party 5. So in the Mario Party 5 grade vert section, let's wander in and we will see Hotel Goomba being the first one. Of course, this one is a very popular one. Relatively surprised this one didn't make the cut, but nevertheless, Hotel Goomba is such a fun mini game. It makes you use your brain a lot, it makes you think, it makes you strategize. And it's such a shame to not see this one return. If there is DLC for Superstars, I do think this is a minigame they would include in it. But nevertheless, Hotel Goomba, I think, is such a horrible casualty. Next up, Revolving Fire, a 1v3 minigame that is about the 3 players surviving the 1 player, you know, shooting out fire attacks, and there's not much really to say about this one. It is a great minigame. Unfortunate to see it face the demise that it did. Diffuse or Lose, I'm pretty certain was in top 100. I got corrected of that, I think, a few videos back. But nevertheless, a fun 2v2 game. Again, I'm not a huge fan of 2v2s, but this one's really fun. Trying to prevent your King Bomb from exploding. It's a great time. Horrible to see this one not make it, and it is very unfortunate. Shock Absorbers was a really fun duel minigame. Again, another avoiding the attacks minigame, and it's really fun, especially since it's a duel minigame instead of like a free-for-all minigame. It's a really fun time. Again, sad that it didn't make it. Hopefully it'll come around in a DLC pack. Cajun Cookin' made it in top 100, but couldn't quite make it here. It's probably my favorite Bowser minigame from Mario Party 5, given that you just had to know the buttons on your controller. It tested how familiar you were with the controller, and it's unfortunate to not see this one make it. But, you know, you can't have too many Bowser minigames, so I guess it makes sense that they didn't bring this one in. But given that it was in top 100, it is sad they didn't bring it back. So now we are visiting the graveyard of Mario Party 6. The minigames here for me are the saddest since I love Mario Party 6 the most. But nevertheless, let's get right on into it. Granite Getaway is my favorite minigame from Mario Party 6, debatably. You know, it switches out sometimes. I love the minigame. It is such a fun time. It's an Indiana Jones minigame where you're, you know, running away from the boulder that's chasing after you down a cave. Like, it's such a fun minigame. Kind of frantic at points. And it's really fun. So sad they didn't make this one return. If there is DLC, this is like my #1 minigame I want to see come back. And I hope that they do. Blooper Scooper is an unpopular minigame, I think, but I absolutely love this minigame. I don't know why. I just the visual styling of it, and just the concept of swimming away from a giant blooper that's in the middle of a giant whirlpool is pretty cool. I really like it. And again, such a shame to see this one not make the cut. Next up is Snow Brawl. Now, I actually haven't talked about this minigame much before, but it is actually a really fun 1v3, and I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't add this one. This was really cool, really fun. This is one I really do hope they would add via DLC, because it is a really fun minigame. Gets everyone yelling at each other and all of that. Next up is Jump the Gun. Now, Jump the Gun is a really cooperative and strategic, maybe not strategic in the general sense, but you really have to work together with your partner on this minigame, and it's a really good time. Unfortunate, again, that it didn't quite make the cut, but I really hope that they bring this one back again in some capacity, because it's a really good teamwork minigame, and it's a shame it didn't make the cut. Next up is Boot Off the Stage. Again, this is another survival minigame. It is sad with this one because I really like the music in these duel minigames, the nighttime duel minigames. And I really hope they bring this one back just because of the music. It's so good. But also being booed off the stage, given that Boo isn't a playable character, it would be really cool to see how they transform it for Superstars. And yeah, again, very unfortunate that this one didn't make the cut. Now we're visiting Mario Party 7, so let's go and visit the Mario Party 7 minigames we lost. Track and Yield is probably the most surprising minigame that didn't make it for this game, in my opinion. This one's just such a popular one. I'm really shocked it didn't make it, especially since it was in Superstars. And this is probably the minigame that really makes me think they're going to do DLC, because if they want to sell minigame DLC packs, then they're gonna want to have popular minigames in there, and I think this minigame is one of them. So again, very unfortunate to see this one meet its demise. Hopefully we get to see it again in some capacity on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Fun Run. Given that this one also wasn't in Top 100, I'm not completely surprised this one wasn't here, but it doesn't make it any less sad. This minigame is so much fun. It's a fun run, no pun intended, or actually pun was intended there, I guess. But it's so sad to see this one not return, just because it makes sense to come back. This was a very popular one from 7, and it's kind of shocking. Next up is Ghost in the Hall. Now this one is a personal favorite of mine given my love for the Luigi's Mansion series, but it is a very fun minigame going through this maze of a mansion, trying to avoid the boos and the doors that slam in your face. It's just a really fun minigame that I really like, and I wish it was here. Battery Ram is another 2v2 minigame that requires a lot of cooperation and teamwork, and I really think it would have been a welcomed addition here. Now, I know this one isn't the most popular minigame ever, but I do think that the teamwork it requires can make it a really good time and well worth the addition to Superstars. But nevertheless, it didn't make the cut, so here it is in the Mario Party graveyard. So there it lies. Next up is Funsticle Course. Now, I actually really wanted another Bowser minigame for Mario Party 7 to be here, but a lot of people wanted me to more so say Funsticle Course. And this is a really good stage as well, or sorry, good minigame as well. And so of course I've got to include it here. Funsticle Course, it is sad to see you go, but hopefully you can come back to some capacity. Now we're at the graveyard of Mario Party 8, so let's get into these minigames. Power Trip. Now this minigame is a kind of fun minigame. It's really hard to pick the minigames from 8 because a lot of them relied on motion controls. But Power Trip, I believe it actually did rely on motion controls for the one player, but it could easily be transformed for, to work on a non-motion control based console. So honestly, I'm not sure why this one didn't make it. It's a really fun minigame. Should have made it in, along with all the other ones on this list, but unfortunately, here it lies. Next up is King of the Thrill. This is a 2v2 minigame where it's a beat-em-up style minigame, and I'm really surprised this one didn't make it, because this one's really popular and could easily work with the non-motion control formula, given that the original minigame didn't have motion controls. So, really shocked to see this one not make it. It's just really unfortunate to see this one not make it. I wish it could have made it in, but there's nothing we can do. So, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. Next up is Cut from the Team. We gotta have our luck-based minigames in there somewhere, right? And I think this one was like one of the most popular luck-based minigames. Cut from the Team was just such a fun time, not knowing if you were going to be launched into, off the canyon or whatever. And I don't know, just unfortunate to not see it make it. Snow Way Out, I know, also kind of required motion controls, but it is a minigame that you could make work without it. And it is unfortunate because it was a relatively fun 1v3. Not much strategy or anything required, but it was always just a fun time, especially being the one trying to freeze up the other 3. Unfortunate to not see it make it. Gladiators was kind of a luck-based duel minigame where all just relied on the cards that you drew, but nevertheless, it was still a fun minigame. Unfortunate to see it not make the cut again. Now we are in Mario Party 9's graveyard site, so let's get into it. First up is Loggerheads. This one's a really cool reaction-based minigame, because there was the one like Slap Hands, I think it was called, from Mario Party 2, maybe, that I wasn't a huge fan of because it was only like one round. Or maybe it was Mario Party 3. I don't know, it's one of the N64 Mario Parties. But I liked Loggerheads more because there's multiple rounds. There's more to it, and I really, really liked it. And it's a shame we didn't see it here because I do believe it was in top 100, so it is a shame to see it not make it. Next up is Peak Precision. This one, again, was kind of a reaction minigame, but also just a memorization of where the buttons are in your controller minigame. And it's just a really good minigame, and there's not really much to say about it. It's a relatively simple minigame, but it's a shame to see it not make it. Next up is Goomba Bowling. Again, kind of self-explanatory. It's just bowling with a bunch of Goombas, but it was kind of a fun one. I've seen quite a few people want this one to return, and it would have been a cool minigame to see come back. Unfortunately, it didn't. I do believe it's in top 100, but it just couldn't make the cut now. So, rest in peace, Goomba Bowling. Next up is Manner of Escape. This one is also kind of a, not luck-based, but chance, based on, like, you know, whatever door you picked. Again, you gotta have those kinds of minigames in there somewhere. And this is a pretty cool one, especially with the theming. Yeah, it's kind of the generic New Super Mario Bros. Haunted House theme, but still a cool minigame in general. Ballistics is another kind of avoid the thing kind of minigame, and I always love those kind of minigames, like I said earlier, and I wish it made the cut. Not much else to say. Alright, so now we're in Mario Party 10's graveyard. I only have 2 minigames in this graveyard, so there's not much to say, but nevertheless, let's get into it. Firstly is Cliffside Crisis. I feel like they can make this minigame a little bit harder, but nevertheless, it's still a kind of fun one where you have to avoid, you know, or kind of sense where the platforms are going to come out, and you have to move yourself accordingly. Kind of a cool minigame. Nothing too amazing, but kind of a cool one that I wish could have made it. And then lastly, we have Snake Block Party. This is a cool kind of platformy minigame where you just kind of have to make it to the end and not fall. Not exactly like Platform Peril from Mario Party 1, but still a fun one that I kind of wish they brought back. But nevertheless, Snake Block Party, wish you could have made it, buddy. Alright, so that is my Mario Party graveyard. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments down below what your Mario Party graveyard is, the minigames you've put there. And hopefully they add some DLC that includes some of these minigames in the future. So let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All that stuff down below. Hit the little notification bell so you're notified of when I upload videos. And check out the merch store. There's some cool ZakPak merch up on there for you to check out. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.